From Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our journey and our discussions with respect to those films which can be found within this very fascinating set, which is called Pioneers of African American Cinema. This is the Kino Classics Blu-ray set, which was released some years back, and we have been going through each of the films that are contained within this brilliant set. Today we find ourselves with one of the films that is contained on disc 4 of this Blu-ray set. On such disc 4 are the films of the sound era of the filmmaker Oscar Micheaux, a very important and brilliant filmmaker artist from 20th century American cinema. And a number of his films, as we know, are already contained within this set, both silent films and sound films. One such sound film is from 1932, and it is called 10 Minutes to Live. The film 10 Minutes to Live, I think, can be described as being a film which has a type of short story type of structure to it. We have a number of stories that seem to be associated with this nightclub urban setting, with a lot of song and dance numbers, a lot of performers that are on stage before this crowd in this nightclub setting. And here we have a number of stories that seem to be intertwining in some way or another, again with the focal point being in this particular urban environment. And we see the elements of, say, criminals and crime and preying on the innocent, and the ways in which the arm of justice sweeps in to protect the innocent from these elements of corruption and danger and vulnerability, and the criminal element, again, as expressed in these various stories. And so that it has a multi-story type of structure to it, with each type of morality playing itself out, again in the context of the nightclub setting. And in this context, therefore, we also have one of the great hallmarks, if you will, of Oscar Micheaux's sound period filmography, which is the showcasing as well of the nightclub scene, this atmosphere, the song and dance, the performances, the performers as well. And through here we have a number of things going on. We have a type of perhaps a capturing of the moment, a type of quasi-documentary feel, if you will, in terms of capturing the mood and the setting and the art and the music and the styles of the times, as well as allowing for a type of provocation, a very provocative type of cinema and entertainment and art that Oscar Micheaux, I think, is very well known for. And for instance, some of the performances involve, say, a play on the minstrelsy or the minstrel act. And so we have this type of indication or play on race and racial depictions, again in the hands of Oscar Micheaux. This can be very provocative and very almost to the point of causing a type of reaction on the part of the people who are watching. And again, I think that's part of the point, especially when we recall a lot of the great and quite challenging and quite provocative modes of cinema that we find in Oscar Micheaux's works, again, which can be found elsewhere in this really great set. So we have all these elements here, plus we have the notion of the urban setting, the city life, And as we know, there is in Oscar Micheaux's work, just like in 10 Minutes to Live, this element or feeling of perhaps the potential for crime and criminal activity and corruptibility, especially when we understand that there are some elements here, yet in 10 Minutes to Live, especially maybe in the second part of the film, where we have this, say, divide between what might be called the rural life and the city life, and how the rural life aspect might be said to be its own arm of justice, in a way trying to, say, protect the innocent who are found trapped in the city life aspects, and to protect those people from, say, the very dangerous elements that, again, can be found within this particular nightclub scene or what it represents. And so I think these and other elements suggest within this film, 10 Minutes to Live, that we have a very typical and very much consistent film within the context of Oscar Micheaux's filmography overall. We have a type of provocation along racial lines, which I think is very much part of Oscar Micheaux's work. Also, we have this idea of an entertainment. This is also designed as a type of showcase of song and dance, while at the same time being a multi-storied mystery, almost film noir element, thriller type of element, with elements of romance and comedy. So we have here also the intent or the purpose or the mode of storytelling, which is also part of Oscar Micheaux's filmmaking style that we've seen up to now hitherto in all of the films that we have been discussing in the context of this great set. So it's all here in this film, 10 Minutes to Live. Now, also, we have to keep in mind, too, that in particular when one is maybe referring to the sound film era of Oscar Micheaux's filmography, there might be those viewpoints which might look at films like 10 Minutes to Live as being maybe somewhat, there might be some issues in terms of the way the scenes are shot. There might be some issues in terms of the editing. There might be some moments in the filming or in the way that things are composed or scenes are composed where you see a little bit of some errors or mistakes, etc. And that's, I think, very valid when we're speaking about a film like 10 Minutes to Live. There are some moments like that. It has a type it's described even, for instance, in the booklet here, which is part of the set. It's described as being, and I quote, clumsily executed in parts. And that's certainly, I think, a criticism that is very reasonable. But there's also, as this book also would attest to, even amongst those moments which might be deemed by some or maybe many to be quote-unquote clumsily executed, but there is also a sense of Oscar Micheaux perhaps playing with the notion of the medium, understanding the notion of the medium, trying even perhaps to forge a path forward in terms of the use of sound and non-sound in order to achieve the objectives, of creating a type of entertainment, also using those to his advantage in a very clever and a very maybe artistic way, which is indicative of his independent revolutionary filmmaking spirit. So, for example, his idea or use of sound in this film, 10 Minutes to Live, is very interesting. On the one hand, there is the song and dance numbers that we've mentioned before, which is, of course, among many other things, an example of the use of sound and the celebration of this sound technology that has recently emerged in cinema in the early 1930s. So it's the use of sound on the one hand, but at the same time, there's a character in this film who doesn't speak, and who communicates by written word, using a notepad and writing down the words that he wishes to communicate with the people around him. And so there's this interesting way in which sound and non-sound are used at the same time, and also the overlap between, say, the advent of sound technology, but also the reliance on silent film techniques, again, which could be, I think, very much part of a strong argument of Oscar Micheaux as a type of independent filmmaking spirit who is using the technology to his advantage in the films that he wants to make. So I think there are those elements that are very much at play in a film like 10 Minutes to Live. And also, if we were to just try to focus on what could be said to be a lot of the strengths of the film as well, despite what might be considered to be a lot of the weaknesses in terms of, say, the way things are executed, the way scenes are composed and put together. A lot of the strengths, again, have to do with the fact that I think in terms of the premise of the film is very intriguing. There are, within its various multi-storied or multi-tiered story structure, there is a sense of mystery. There is a sense of a type of unknown. What is going on? The intriguing premise about where the title comes from, 10 Minutes to Live, and the threats that emerge and why these threats are occurring, and the use of flashbacks and going back and telling the story leading up to these particular dramatic moments, again, set forth or taking place in the nightclub setting. So there is this intrigue and mystery, again, noirish elements to it, the stylized elements to it, which is, I think, very much part of the entertainment package of what Oscar Micheaux and company, what the filmmakers are trying to present here. So there is an intriguing aspect to the story itself, thus lending itself, I think, to the potential entertainment levels of this film. And then finally, to come full circle, we have those elements that are very highly charged, very challenging, and very much part and parcel, very much going hand in hand with the filmmaking craft and spirit and themes and concerns of Oscar Micheaux. What he shows very directly, and what he gives us a type of earnestness, as well as showing us a type of cinematic provocation, which is very much part of his filmmaking brand and style, which makes it, I think, so challenging, as well as being entertaining at the same time. And so, however one might feel about this or other sound films of Oscar Micheaux, you may like it, you may not like it. That is perfectly fine wherever you may fall. But regardless, I still think that it still is a very, I think, emblematic film from Oscar Micheaux for many reasons that I've tried to express today, which makes it, I think, a very fascinating look into the heart and mind of this, as I say, very important and brilliant filmmaker from the early 20th century. That is Oscar Micheaux, and this film, 10 Minutes to Live. Okay, my friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very, very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.